start like
7 or 8 streets away.
a
One will shoot
committee
some
of
stuff off,
like
and then all of a sudden, Jimmy will shoot some stuff off. Jimmy will shoot some stuff off. I'm sitting right in my driveway, and you can see it just like.
Yeah, it's too much scouts in me. I can't.
Yeah,
do
no,
it.
pre-show, right?
shoot. What do you got?
Mr. Ray has a cannon. He doesn't even. It's not even fireworks. It's just bang. He used to use it on the field.
All nice and size.
You know you've lived. There's rules in Moxie.
Because of
Well,
you?
because of stuff we've done. Yes. When the squirt guns thing, that was us. The noisemakers, that was us.
Oh, because people didn't want to get wet and they were getting.
Oh yeah.
What's that?
I got a true story. Yeah, what's up? Like this.
I'd like to bring this council to order, July 5th, 2016. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Twella.
Certainly. Councilor Albert, is he expected, or you
No,
think he's
he's
excused?
been excused.
All right, Councilor Kobe? Here. And Councilor Ward?
Here.
And is Councilor McTevier on his way?
He's excused too.
Excused, okay. Councilor Bickford?
Here.
Councilor Crafts?
Here.
And Councilor Brunel?
Here.
Next item, Twila.
Is good news and recognition.
Who wants to go first? You?
You can go first.
Okay. Couple of things that I have. One of them is the 30th of June, the chief and the sergeant were retired with a nice ceremony here, and it was a very nice thing. They're going to be missed very much. Chief was chief forever and ever, and Dan wasn't too far behind him as sergeant.
Lieutenant.
Lieutenant, sorry.
It's bad enough that he was actually listed as a chief in the paper.
But, and then for my second one, July 11th at 1 o'clock will be the opening of the new Durham-Lisbon Bridge. And it's also going to be a citizen of this town for many, many years. Lived in Durham for many, many years. He's over 90. Will be the first one across the bridge. His name's Walter Parker. Him and his brother were the first ones across the old bridge back in 1936. So through a lot of due diligence with both sides working together, it should happen again. So I hope a lot of people can come, because it should be a nice ceremony. That's all I've got.
You're up, sis.
Just a reminder, this weekend is the Moxie Festival. We have quite a bit of new activities. We have a Moxie whoopie pie eating contest, the traditional chug contest, carnival, and a whole bunch of other stuff that you guys will have to come out and visit. That's what I got.
I received a poem written by Faye Brown to Mr. Frank Anicetti, so I'm just going to try to read this. A fond thanks to Mr. Moxie, Frank Anicetti. The time has come to hail a friend, the man with the Moxie lore. After many happy, memorable years, Frank will close the iconic Kennebeck's door. Generations have walked through that big old door and strolled across the wooden floor to perch on twirling stools, the little kids who bounce and wiggle, and Frank could always make them giggle. 3 Anicetti generations remembered for serving youth so kindly, with candy for the old Met Theater movies. These cases filled so many goodies. For a kid, it was sublime. Remembering times at Old Kennebeck's Fruit, how about those little lemons, a baseball team of great young players that Larry Desjardins coached, and every time he won a game, they all earned a frosty root beer float. A Moxie book party for Mr. Frank Potter got Moxie's days off and rolling. with the famously crafted horse Moxie Mobile and the beverage both Franks were extolling. The excitement of seeing the fans who attended sparked the LFFD to bring the fireman's muster. It quickly caught on like a wildfire's roar. The crowds were cheering and asking for more. So a great big parade stepped up the paces with Moxie, great foods, games, and foot and boat races. The crowds were all wearing Moxie-themed tees and proclaiming the party was just the bee's knees. Frank, you're a lucky guy, a man of great renown. Even our world-famous Stephen King has written you in his tomes. A plethora of thanks is what you leave behind, so thanks, Frank, for the memories. You and Moxie are one of a kind. By Faye Brown.
Anybody else?
I have something.
Yep.
I have good news and recognition, and this is for Alan Ward, Counselor. He was bestowed the Silver Beaver Award, which is the highest distinguished service recognition a council can bestow upon an adult volunteer with the Boy Scouts of America. And the recipient of this award is a registered adult leader who made an impact on the lives of youth through service given to the council. The Silver Beaver is an award given to those who implement the scouting program and perform community service through hard work, self-sacrifice, dedication, and many years of service. And Alan received that award this year. So congratulations.
How did they find you?
Go Beavers.
I'm not going to show you my beaver, Chris. No.
Okay. Next item, Twyla.
Would be a victualer's license for Antonio Briglio doing business as Roadside Barbecue.
I'll open the public hearing. Any? Is it for the?
My name is Richard Nettle, Lisbon Falls. Want to correct one thing. Mr. Chairman, you said the bridge 1936. That bridge was completed in 1938. It went out in 36.
Are you,
It's,
this
it lists,
is
this
for
is the
the-
Historical Society.
yeah, this is for the Antonio.
Oh, okay.
Straightened you out, Roger.
Yep.
Dr. Fitzgerald, I probably shouldn't even be up here mentioning it, and I applaud anyone that starts a small business, any business at all, anywhere, and especially here in town. But I'm wondering, he's been operating this barbecue stand for a few weeks, and you're just approving a,
He has a temporary permit.
but that expired 2 weeks, June 14th, was it?
I don't think
I
so.
thought that's what I read in the, okay, it didn't. Yeah, just, it's almost like putting the cart before the horse.
He's been operating legally.
It has, okay. Like I said, I applaud anyone and I wish him well.
Miriam Morgan Alexander, Lisbon. I actually went over and observed his place of operation. It was scrupulously clean, and he has a very nice offering on his menu. And I would definitely suggest that the council approve his permanent license.
Anybody else? Then I'll close this public hearing. Next item, Twyla.
Is audience participation and response for agenda items?
Anybody? Next item, Twyla.
Ted had his
Mr. Netto in the back.
hand
Dick,
up.
now you want to get up?
My My name is Richard Nettle, like I've previously said. Sorry, I boo-boo. I just wanted to correct the statement that that bridge went out April 1st, 1936. The new one that took its place was in 38. Before that, in between, they had some kind of a little wooden thing that went like this, and it went across that you could walk across. That was what they had in between. I've seen pictures of it at the Historical Society.
I stand corrected, Dick.
Okay. Thank you. But I will have more to say on this.
We're sure of it.
Next item.
Is under consent agenda. Any counselor wishing to have any item removed may do so now. Items removed will be considered next. Seeing none. Order 2016-152 to approve the minutes of May 10, June 7, June 21, and the victualer's license for Antonio Briglio doing business as Roadside Barbecue.
I need a motion.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Before we vote,
Yep.
as far as the license goes, what are the parking requirements?
That's a code enforcement question.
Okay. I wasn't sure if there was already a plan in place for that, because just last weekend I almost witnessed a pretty nasty accident right there, and it got pretty congested fast. So
I know that the code enforcement officer's been up there to do his inspection. He did sign the back of the application, so we know that it met the standards set at the time. Could follow up and check with Dennis tomorrow.
Yep.
sounds good.
He had an operation of something going on there a few years back, and that's why you see that his whole front yard is parked. If you've ever seen his driveway,
Mhm.
like a whole parking lot, I think it's parks 6 or 8 one way, and then he's even got a handicap spot.
So there's
That'd be
room
ridiculous.
outside.
Yeah, but these cars were all on the side of the road, and
Yes, they're pulling in where the stand is, I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying. I'm sure if there's an issue, Dennis will run right up there.
That's what I'm going on, and the fact is that knowing that Dennis is part of the permitting process, that it meets the standard associated with that. And to your point, Dot, the June 14th is a real date. That was the date that he was issued a temporary before this license that would be issuing tonight. So he has a temporary in play until this is approved, is the way the process works.
All in favor?
Order passed, 5-0.
Next item.
Under council orders, resolutions, and ordinances, Order 2016-153, the striping bid award.
Good evening. Here to seek permission to award the annual line striping bid to Lucas Striping LLC of Maine. They're the company we've used the last couple of years. The total bid, based on the list that we use pretty much every year, exceeds what we've budgeted this current year. What we generally do is that we'll make decisions when they're here on which roads we're going to actually do this year. Some of them we may drop off. River Road's one that I've looked at recently that may be one that doesn't get striped this particular year, but the ones that didn't get striped last year will take precedence, and then we'll fill in as we go. 196 would be, and Route 9 and 125 would also be the major ones. Some of the other roads we'll evaluate with the contractor. And generally, this contractor, this year I put in the bid for them to come back, that they had to plan to come back a second time. So that way we could do Moody Road, because that was one of the concerns that we had last year, was that we didn't stripe Webster Road. And that was because the road striping was put out to bid before that project was completed. This year we put in that they would have to come back and do that. So he's already emailed and asked about coming in and doing the roads that he can do now, and then and if history repeats itself, he comes back on several occasions. It's like he comes in and does what he can, and then comes back when the weather cooperates. So just as soon work with him again this year. Worked out well the last couple of years.
It has worked out real well.
Yeah, I mean, it was in years way past, we used to have one vendor that would come in. They came in from Massachusetts, and they'd come in and do it at night and do the whole thing all at once, which was kind of nice as well. But this is, we haven't received competitive bids from that outfit in the last couple of years, and this has worked out. It's not as ideal as them coming and doing it all at once at night, but it's working out, especially with our schedule that we've got this year. It's pretty hectic, so this should
It-
work.
And it's keeping money in our state.
Yeah.
They were technically not the low bidder, but they are the local bidder.
The local bidder.
Yep.
Okay.
Local meaning Maine.
Correct.
Where are the other two at?
Both of them, I believe, one was New Hampshire and one Massachusetts, I believe.
Okay.
No, Fine Line was from Herman, but they were the high bidder.
And you have language to do the discretionary anyways. You covered that earlier in the session.
It'd be
No, I-
awful hard for an outfit outside of the state to come back as many times
Right,
as we need them.
Right, you need to
so-
be ready associated with that,
Exactly.
based on the number of moving
Yep.
parts that we're asking Ryan to do to get the paving done
Yep.
this year. I think it makes,
And this
Good
vendor
sense.
is willing to do that, which is good.
I want to make a motion to accept the bid from Lucas Striping.
you got your first there.
Okay, first, you got,
She's a second.
I'll second.
See?
all in favor?
Order passed 5-0.
If I may just take just a minute of your time, when we talk about paving, Crooker was in town today. They started, thought it was gonna be closer to the end of the week. They had some scheduling shuffling, so they ended up, actually shimming Houston Street today. They'll be working on the rest of the roads that are being shimmed in anticipation of the surface treatment, the rest of this week. And actually, the asphalt rubber surface treatment will be done beginning of next week, because that one doesn't require a 30-day cure period like the chip seal that we did on Webster Road does, which is what's happening on Moody Road. So there'll be 30 days after they shim that road is when they'll be back to do Moody Road. And between now and then, I'd like to put together some sort of a flyer or whatnot that we can hand out, get the word out to the members of, especially Moody Road, on what they could potentially expect for road conditions for that 3 or 4 day, 1 week
Just don't
window.
block us in again, please.
Try not to.
Did you say
Do
Houston?
we need a motion or just
Just a section
tell
of
him to do
Houston
it?
Street,
Which
I
section in
think-
Houston?
from Maine
Straw
to
poll's
east.
good.
Okay.
What's with the, is it a storm drain that's causing that sinkhole?
Yep.
Isn't
We'll be
that-
back to talk about that in a later.
Okay, okay.
We've
There's-
got, we've
just-
cambered it, we've
I
cambered
know,
it
I know
to
you
find
guys
out-
went through it and have straightened it out last year, but obviously the problem is
What
still
happened
there.
was, is, if I can.
Go
carry
ahead.
on, I'll carry on. Last year, we patched it, with the idea that we were gonna clean it this year, so then we could camera the whole section to find out what was going on. The patch held, I think when we cleaned it this spring, we made it worse because of the condition of the pipe. I mean, we had no way of knowing, couldn't get in either at the bottom end of it because it was just full of dirt from the original break. So last couple weeks, maybe a month, we came in and cambered it from the top end to find out how far down the pipe is good before it starts to fall apart. And so now we've got a ballpark of what we need to fix.
Okay.
And we'd gotten one estimate, and we'd gone out to just get prices on price per foot for someone to do the installation, but it's gonna be something that we're gonna have to come and ask permission to put out the bid to make the repair.
Well, that's good. What it's done in asking the question is put you on record, at least let him know that you're aware of the problem
Yep.
locally, because I had a conversation with the individual, and he had hoped that, same as you, that last year's work had fixed it. Obviously, seeing it coming back, I was, wow, that was quickly taking most of the road by the time it got away from it last year.
Yep,
By all means, thank you.
the intent is and it's my understanding that some of the pipe that was put in originally was not as good as some of the rest of that road.
Right.
And so we wanted to take off from at least where the stuff was decent. We'll work our way back to that catch basin, right there at the corner of Scottsdale and Houston, and put in new pipe as far as we have to, but
Okay.
the original estimate was around 400 feet, and I think we've reduced it down by 100 or 150 feet.
But it's
so
nothing that's actually being talked about in this wave of paving, so it's not
Nope,
good.
Nope.
That's the reason I was asking the question. Thank you.
problem, thank you.
Next item, 12.
Order 2016-154, the Jeff Child sign request.
Memo that I included in the packet included the letter of request, and based on the sign needing to be placed in the town right of way, I'm here to seek permission. Some of these signs is kind of a fuzzy area, whether or not you put them up or not, because you get too many slow child playing signs and, all those kind of yellow warning signs that people just tend not to pay attention to any of them. There was actually article from DOT, kind of helping guide the use of those particular signs. This being what it is, I don't see that as being a big issue, and it's in the right of way, and if we go on history, the property owner or the requester would end up paying for the materials, and then Public Works would do the installation.
27, where's that on Grove?
27.
Whereas it's obviously
About
not.
halfway down, I believe.
Yeah, I mean,
I know the child, so.
I'm very familiar with
Much
the
needed.
street too in that regard. It's, when they're coming around that corner, they are moving. That's why I was asking. But
He does struggle to hear, so I think it's definitely,
Based on that type of road too, I mean, it may be one that we put closer to the, where it's a short stretch and dead end.
right,
We may put it closer to the beginning instead of right,
right, right.
based on whatever the MUTCD manual directs.
Whatever. Right.
I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-155, MMA's Legislative Policy Committee, the official ballot.
So you just have to vote for the person on, on the ballot
On
if
the
you
ballot.
choose. There's only one person there, so.
Who's on the ballot?
Aaron Chatowski. Did I really wreck it?
I don't know. I'm glad you took a stab at it.
Chatowski?
You did a
Yeah.
fine job.
I need a motion to vote for Aaron Podolsky,
Kachowski.
Katowski.
I'll make the motion.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Order passed, 5-0.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-156, the Brownfield Grant Award Acceptance.
Good evening. Tracy Stuber, Economic and Community Development Director. Twyler is going around with an update regarding the Brownfield. The memo I sent in December of 2015, Lisbon applied for a $200,000 EPA Brownfields Assessment Grant, which we were awarded that grant. The paperwork that you see before you is basically just the next phase of that, which is due Friday. And I'm asking permission for council to give permission for Diane, the town manager, for signature. On the updated forms that you have, there's very minor changes. Let's see. Main notation. On the non-construction programs, the assurances, the only thing I changed on that, I had a date of July 8th, and I just want to coincide with tomorrow's date, because I hope to scan everything, get signatures, scan it, and then it gets off, so we have it in EPA's hands before Friday. Then the other change is on the disclosure activities. No change on that, sorry. It was on the last page. The compliance review report. And there were just some filling in the blanks, answering no or non-applicable. And that's all I just needed to do on that. So everything, this has already gone for a preview to our regional person for our brownfields. And this is what he came back with to make those changes. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that this has been already kind of pre-approved by them, that this is what we need to do for our next step. If you have any questions?
Can you discuss a little bit about what the brownfield is?
The brownfields, basically, Lisbon, we will have $200,000. The funds will become available as of October 1st. From there, we'll go through another process of a committee, an advisory committee. We look at doing an RFP, again, with EPA kind of guiding us through that. We will look at properties within Lisbon that have potential hazardous, and the money will be used for doing phase 1 and phase 2 assessments and going from there. This is a good opportunity as far as I worked on the brownfields in Auburn, and it's a good opportunity when you're looking at potentially redevelopment of properties to know what's there for a potential buyer, as well as if the town is looking at taking on any property, whether it be for recreational use as well. This just kind of protects us in that of knowing what's there. We do, if, you know, from the sites that I've worked with EPA, Lisbon does have a lot of sites that had spills and environmental issues. So again, this is kind of examining all those. Phase 1 of the assessment grant is just doing the homework. It's looking at files, it's looking at reports, it's seeing if DEP has signed off on anything. Phase 2 is the actual boring. It's going in and doing the testing, doing test sites and seeing what is actually in the ground so that we know. AvCog, they received, I believe it was a $400,000 grant, and they also have a petroleum. So if we get in a state where we want to do something more with petroleum, we can go over to AvCog and have them come in and do assessment on any of the petroleum here in the town as well. So we have some different options.
So, is it with a known list of properties, or is that
You
list
really go, you have to
that
do the
work?
investigation of history. So, I mean, I can look at, on my overlay, on my Google Earth, I have all of the sites. I got the overlay from EPA, actually gave that to me, DEP. And you can literally see where sites have targeted that they are
They've
known
identified.
sites. Yes, that they've identified. It's really sitting down with those that have been here for a long time and says, oh, I remember this site used to be so-and-so, or, you know, whether, especially when you get along the river. You get along the river when you have, whether it be automobiles, it could be oil leakage, it could be, you know, that's gone into the soils, could be contaminating the water as well. Another one is we're also looking at the railroad. You have the rail beds, the same type of thing, is that there you have all of the grease and the oils and things like that can contaminate the soils. So if we're looking at doing something rail to trail, if we're doing anything with those rail beds, we want to know what's in there in the grounds. So it's really doing the examination as far as, and you're looking at the history of some of the sites, what was there previously to what's there now. And, you know, as we all know, those who have been in the area for a long time, they can remember, oh yeah, that site's got to be contaminated, that they did X, Y, Z there. So it's just doing that homework and figuring that all out.
What happens after, if something is identified as being contaminated, what's the next step?
How the process works with is basically we would have to get permission to go on anybody's property. So they would have to agree to that. Some agree to the phase 1 just for the background check. Some may not agree to the phase 2 because the actual boring, because it could put them on the link as far as of the contamination of it. Again, we wouldn't, the phase 1s and phase 2s is just identifying. We wouldn't be eligible for any type of cleanups for that, is because that's all we're going for. When you get into the cleanups, those are usually come up with big properties, whether it be mill properties where there's going to be a major redevelopment up, and then you can actually go after federal dollars to help with those. It's really going to depend on what we're going to find and then where we go from there. So the town will be working with a consultant that has all of that background. So we will go out for RFPs and then hire a consultant, and part of the grant will be paying for that consultant as well. So this doesn't, everything within the grant is all paid out of the grant. It does not come out of my budget or you know, the general fund or anything like that. It's all paid directly through the grant to be able to do all of those. So you are, you know, when you meet with a committee, you start identifying how many sites do you want to target or do you want to look at, and then you just kind of dwindling down from there. And again, it's really going to be getting the public input on what they feel are some potential sites within the community, and then we will work with the owners and go from there. Yeah, I'm sure you're all familiar with the barn project on Minot Avenue in Auburn, which is going to be a new Chinese hotel spa thing for the hospital. That was one of my brownfield site. And they had to go in and do some remediation as far as to the site, but it's going to be a good redevelopment site. So there's definitely some big success stories with it now.
Now, do we have to match this grant?
No.
Okay.
No match. No match. And Lisbon, one of the things, Maine actually did quite well within the amount of money that they received. We are what they call in Region 1, and we compete with the Northeast areas, there was a lot of people that had gone after it. Lisbon was really in a good place is because Lisbon has never had a brownfields grant. So that in itself, with EPA, that's what they want to do with those funds. They want to target those communities that have never had the opportunity for a grant like this.
Sounds good.
Any other questions?
So I just need permission from council to authorize the manager to complete
Need a
the
motion?
phase 2.
I'll make the motion.
Need a second?
Yep.
All in
Absolutely.
favor?
Order passed, 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-157, the yard sale ordinance. This is a first reading. A roll call vote is required.
Don, you wanna?
Don Fellows from the Planning Board. This was initially part of the property maintenance ordinance that we were working on, and per our earlier discussion, we separated it out, but didn't give up on it. And so here, this part we didn't give up on. But basically, the point was to do some, quote, minor regulation on yard sales. So you can see in the ordinance, there's a definition or difference between the yard sale and used merchandise sale. And the only difference is essentially the time frame. A yard sale would be that which is no longer than 4 days or a fraction of it in a 7-day period, and 3 yard sales per individual allowed at 1 year. The rest of it would be a used merchandise sale, and the idea here was mostly for safety reasons, because some of these things really get traffic problems and things like that. So that's why the separation, and the used merchandise sale would require a permit. Codes enforcement would be involved, and has to meet off-street parking requirements, things like that. So that's what it's about.
Any questions?
Just so you know, the first reading triggers the public hearing, which will
Yeah.
be at the second hearing.
Yeah. I know, I was skeptical, but then and last year it was combined with the other bill, and we brought it out, and my younger brother is I call him a yard sale guru, and that's what he loves to do on Saturdays, Fridays and Saturdays. And I went and asked him, figuring that he would blow up and go right through the roof, and he said there needs to be something done. So he says there's too many people out there that have a continuous yard sale all summer long. And so I think this is a very reasonable option. I've been there, not so much at the workshops, but as they've gone through it. And I think they've come out with a pretty good ordinance myself. Myself personally, I have nothing against it. Because I'm one that, I don't like rules and regulations, but you gotta have it sometimes. So I'd like to have a motion for the first.
To adopt. The motion would be to adopt.
I'd like to have a motion to adopt.
Absolutely.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call.
On
Ready?
roll call?
Counselor Albert is absent. Counselor Bickford.
Yes.
Counselor Crafts.
Yes.
Counselor Ward.
Yes.
Counselor Matthews is not here. Counselor Brunel.
Yes.
And Counselor Kobe.
Yes.
We have 5 yeas, no nays. Order passed.
Next item.
Order 2016-158, a banner application for Positive Change Lisbon.
You got anything to say about that, Fern?
From Rochelle, Lisbon Falls, representing Positive Change. Appreciate the opportunity. It's with the new permitting process, we have put in an application to actually put up a banner that we usually do every year, just letting people know about the concerts on Sunday night. We're still looking to see if we can find exactly where the banner is. I don't think that's gonna be a problem. Just those, organization things every year that you go through. So, tonight's application, and it came in, and we took care of the, fee with Twyla, so we're all set there. Just a matter of going through, and we appreciate the opportunity to put the banner back up, and I'm glad the new poles are in place, and it's all working out good by the looks of the Moxie banner staying in place, and everything's doing its job, so pretty straightforward. And with our application, we do appreciate the opportunity of actually having an extended opportunity to actually stay up until someone else wants to go up, so we can maintain it. And if there's another opportunity for someone to come in and do a banner opportunity, we know the process of it coming down and going back up, but just the idea that it can stay up for extended period, that'd be great through the summer. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 5-0.
Next item.
Under other business, the town manager's report.
I just want to remind you that the Androscoggin County Charter calls for all municipal officers to meet at the county building on July 20th at 6:30 p.m. for the purpose of nominating two residents from our district to the county budget committee. So if you want representation from the Lisbon Town Council on the budget committee, then you need to be there to nominate somebody so that everybody can vote. If nobody attends and doesn't nominate anybody, Lisbon's not going to have a voice in
When
the
is that?
budget committee. It's going to be right at the county building. July 20th at 6:30 p.m.
At least one of those has to be a council representative too, right?
Yes.
Correctly.
What time was it?
At 6:30. What I'll do is I'll email you the information.
I'll go.
I think,
Nominate you.
Knowing that you already had, yes, I already put that on my calendar, sir.
Okay.
I was glad she brought it up to know that there are more, because it is part of the caucus to actually get everybody heard, to be able to make that process official. Absolutely. Thank you.
the other thing, when we went through the budget process, we discussed doing a paving bond for some of the major roads that need to have work. And if we're going to try and do the work next year, we need to have that on the referendum in November so that we can go to bond in May. The Maine Municipal Bond Bank only issues bonds in May and October. So if that's the wishes, if the council still wants to do that, I'll have that as an agenda item for the next meeting so we can get the official okay, because we're going to need bond counsel and they're going to have to work on the language for us. And we're running out of time to get all of that done to get on the November referendum. And the same with the loader. We talked about the loader, and the cost of a loader requires us to go to referendum, so we'll need to have language for that as well. And I'll have that on the agenda.
Does that require 2 readings? How's that work?
I have to go back and look and see.
To
I'll
put
check
something
that out
on-
in the charter.
No?
To put something on a ballot, you would have to approve it on the warrant process. So you-
Through the warrant
so you
process
approve-
of-
Yeah,
okay.
you approve a warrant, then the ballots are ordered, and then you continue, so.
And you need how far out on that, Twyla?
45 days prior to an election, the ballots are printed, so we're working backwards into August.
Right,
And we
that's where I
wanna be
was,
ready
yes,
for it.
so by
So
all
probably-
means,
Yeah.
the
we
second,
get it.
second
We need-
meeting in June, please, July,
July,
please put it
yeah.
on there.
If you're holding public hearings, it would be the 1st of August, probably.
Yeah. And the same with any type of charter amendments. I have some housekeeping things that I want to deal with, so we would need to be working on that as well, because that will have the same guidelines. I know we rushed it last year when we were going through some charter
Do you wanna-
amendments.
Do you want to put a workshop on that?
I think we ought to, because in case there's anything out there that, and Dan Stockford should be a part of that, because he can tell us what we need to do, whether we would need to establish a charter commission or just go through the amendment process. So you might want to schedule a workshop maybe after one of our meetings, maybe at the next meeting. I'll see if he's available.
Next meeting, we got an executive session.
Okay,
Why don't we just make it another day?
another day. Okay,
Why don't you find out when he can do it, and then
Yep.
just email
Let us
us, and
know.
then we'll talk amongst ourselves and try to,
Okay,
Figure
I
it
can
out.
do that.
okay?
Yep.
And this was for the bonds for the 3 big roads?
Yes.
Okay.
And, right, and for the loader as well. That's all I have.
So yes to all
Next.
3.
Yes. Mark? Next item, you're up.
Yep. Recreation permit, Mark Stevens.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the council for supporting the purchase of a UTV. If we would be taking a golf cart in places we took the UTV, it'd still be there. It'd need to be life flighted out of there. Because there's some areas back in Beaver Park that are really swampy, and I think they're spring-fed, so they never dry up, even that drought we currently had, or just recently had. It's so wet back there. It's, 2 or 3 feet of mud. So right now we're rerouting trails, building bog bridges. Would not have happened, wouldn't have worked with a golf cart.
I knew that.
Thank you very much. It's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to read my my report, and then I'm going to tell you pretty much what we've been doing the last couple months, and then talk about how we're preparing for the Moxie Festival. And then if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. So the Parks and Recreation Department has completed its first full year as one department. Our staff has adapted well with the changes and has taken the approach to be proactive as opposed to reactive. Now that we've gone through at least one season, all of us, we can better prepare ourselves for the work ahead. And I'm happy to report that our department, staff, facilities, parks, trails, gardens are all in great shape. The big picture of what we do every day, though, is to influence others to influence a positive difference in all the people that participate in our programs. We bring people together, and that's one of several parts of a fabric that make our community strong. And sometimes I have to remind myself and others of why we do what we do. There's a huge picture out there that it's not just blowing up basketballs and signing kids up for programs. So some program highlights that I want to share is one of them is our senior coordinator, Lynn Strout. She's been taking people on several trips the last few months. One of them was to Fenway Park, where she brought 50 people by motor coach to see a Red Sox game, which ended in a walk-off home run in, I think, the 11th inning. We got home around 10 o'clock at night. The senior group also traveled to Savannah, Georgia, and they have a trip planned to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. They're also going to Alaska next August, and another Fenway Park visit in August this year. In May, we were invited guests to Poland Town Office, where they honored our staff for, they recognized us for benchmarking our senior program. They took what we have been doing in the past several years and brought it to their community, and they had a ribbon cutting ceremony I think it was in May, and some of us got to go up there and see what they had going on up there. It was quite an honor for our staff, though, to be benchmarked. Our gardens, the Lisbon Community Gardens, located behind the old high school, the brick building, is growing. It's spreading like wildfire. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, last year we had 4 garden boxes. This year we have, the whole entire back area is all gardens now. There's Girl Scouts. There's different organizations that are involved. Judy Arledge has taken this program, this project, and really through hard work, determination, she's motivated, and she just recently got our Master Gardener's certificate through the Cooperative Extension, and she's spearheading this and is doing an awesome job. And in addition to that, our Green Thumb Gang folks who are responsible for the other part of the garden, the other flower gardens all over town, equally important because they are the ones who make our town beautiful, and that's a benefit to all of us. We have some plans next spring to do something in Lisbon. There's Smith McCarthy Park, which is across the street from the old Graziano's dump, or it's a dump now, but nothing's going on over there. It's just an eyesore. What we're trying to do is to compensate for that by, we're going to plant, I'll just say a lot of tulips, so that whole area will be in full color for a couple months out of the summer.
to compensate for across the street. Hopefully there's some improvements across the street. Another program that is probably one of our most popular programs is our after-school recreation program. And this year, we've collected $22,000 over our target, and that brought us up to nearly $72,000 in this one program. Our summer day camps have been growing each year for the past 5 years. We kind of leveled off a little bit this year. We're in the same general ballpark, but we haven't grown. We're right around 268 participants, which is a lot of participants. This is a 3-day, these 3 camps, there's Trekker, Cricket, and Playground Camp, have realized $60,000 in revenues this year. It's a great responsibility to take care of other people's children 9 hours a day, 5 days a week, 7 weeks the summertime. But even more so, it's even a greater responsibility to know that people trust us with their children for 7 weeks. Before kids get to the first day of camp, they have to go through, our staff has to go through 4 days of training. The training it's pretty intense. The first day is a team building day where we bring our staff to a whitewater rafting trip and ropes course, adventure training, just so they get to know each other. On the second day, they're all certified in first aid and CPR. On the third day, they're trained how to identify many facets of actual things that happen during the program, how to respond to bullying, how to identify and respond to bullying, how to help children with special needs, how to respond to a possible angry parent. We don't get a lot, but sometimes we'll get some, and there's a right way and a wrong way to respond. After the video training that I just spoke about, the staff has to sit through about an hour and a half of me listening to me go over the staff manual page by page. It's a 23-page manual that goes over all of our expectations, covers just about everything in order for us to fully prepare them to provide a successful program for all of our children. Our staffing ratios, we talked about this in the past, but I wanted to remind you that we try to have a certain ratio for campers to staff. In our older group, which is 5th grade to 8th grade, 1 to 15 ratio. For our Trekker camp, it's a 1 to 10 ratio staff. And for our Cricket camp, which is 1st and 2nd grade, kindergarten is the 1st graders, is a 1 to 8 ratio. Those are minimum ratios. I'd like to have even greater ratios if possible. That just having those ratios and having the staff, it just doesn't happen overnight. We have had a lot of hours. Jody has been a huge, tremendous help for the rec department, interviewing and hiring many staff. Each year we have to hire a dozen or more seasonal employees, and it takes a lot of time, a lot of screening, a lot of paperwork, and it's a challenge. And so I really appreciate the help from Jody and the town manager's office to get us through so we can get this started on time. In Beaver Park, we have, like I said, we were rerouting trails because the areas they're not passable back out there. Building bog bridges, we have an Eagle Scout project with Seth Tapley. He's an Eagle Scout selectee, and he has been planning with one of our employees, David Cherry, on building a bog bridge over on the Jessup Trail. That's going to be starting probably in late July, early August, once we get the supplies. Currently, we have 280 runners for the Moxie 5K. We usually get half pre-registered and another half show up that day because they wait to see how the weather is going to be. So we're looking at over 500 or close to 500 runners again. We've had 500 the last several years, and over 100 kids in the fun run. The car show was all set and totally dependent on good weather. People won't bring their cars out in the rain, so right now it looks like 30% chance of showers. I'm hoping it's in the afternoon. Other than that, we've been extremely busy, but happy to be part of the team. Like Chief Gallipo always says, any questions?
I don't have any, Mark. Any?
I just got a 911 call. I need to leave.
Okay.
Okay. Alan?
Yes. Where is Seth in the process of his project?
Okay, so
Your perspective,
from my perspective,
because I can tell you from my perspective, they're not the same. He needs approval before he starts any work, or
okay.
he forfeits the entire project, and you don't want to end up in that problem. So,
Well, I'm counting on him, so.
I know you are, and I just texted his father, so I will be getting a conversation later. Where does he stand?
Okay, so he's met with, he had to meet with the director to come up with some plans. He showed me his slideshow. He has like
Yeah.
a PowerPoint presentation, and I approved that.
Okay.
I had to meet with David Cherry, who's one of our employees, who is extremely experienced and
Forester part of it, right?
yeah, he works for EPA.
Okay.
It's his regular day job. He works with us part-time.
Okay.
And he's extremely knowledgeable about with building bog bridges and how to build them.
Right.
So he's helped.
Good. So
He's
he's
helped
the
us out with
resource.
design.
He's the resource.
So he's met with his resources. And
Good.
as far
Well,
as
good.
supplies, I know that he's talked to the local guy here on 196 as far as getting the wood.
Verbal.
Yes.
Verbal.
Spoken with him. Yeah.
Okay. We're good. I'll take it from there. You'll get it.
So July, August. Let me know if I'm anywhere on the target.
No,
with
no,
that.
no, no.
Okay. That's my plan anyway.
As long as he's got the approvals in writing and everything, that you're good to go.
I had to sign a
How
few
did
pages.
What's that?
I have signed a few pages of his project.
Right.
To get that
Which
going.
is good, because you're first in that process. The next would be Mr. Ray, and then moving from there. I just
I knew
was
he
curious
wanted,
where he was.
He wanted to get out, get done with school
Yep.
first
Good.
before he started it. So that's why I gave him, late July, August timeframe.
Did anything happen with the map kiosk? Has that moved forward at all?
From what I understand, that fell through the cracks because it was too hard to access that area. And I think Bill Tapley told me that. What he's talking about is halfway down the Androscoggin River Trail, there's an opening behind ETTI that we have some picnic tables. There's an open area that is all Lisbon property. There's also a parking area that used to, I don't know if it belonged to the train depot, but that's where the train depot used to offload
Right.
cargo equipment. Well, that's all of our property now. And we asked, Ryan talked to DOT to see if we could cross over there, and they said it shouldn't be a problem, but we haven't heard anything else since then. But one Eagle Scout project wanted to do was build a kiosk, a map kiosk that shows the whole map trail, the trail system in Lisbon, and it would be right about in that area with some other park features, maybe more picnic tables, some park benches, and
Okay.
grass, playground, all, sky's the limit, whatever, but there's plenty of land there for that.
So is that?
I haven't heard anything back from that project. I just heard that
Do you
they balked.
Do you need me to follow up with the scout that they were talking about, or is that something to
Sure,
temperature take?
yeah, if you could, because I haven't heard back from them. I just heard from Tapley that,
Yep.
that it
Yep.
might be too much of a project to get
Might be,
to the area.
but at least I'll give you a definitive answer.
Yeah.
Where we're at.
We love to help,
No, and it's
especially from the
it's a
Scouts.
good reciprocal, because they're projects that are totally within the Scouts' mission statement and
Mhm.
skill set to be able to assist the town.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's no different than the work that they did for the Winterfest that you guys had.
Right.
Beaver Park's their playground, so it works very well to actually have that presence to actually assist both sides.
Right.
So, anything I can, let me know.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
You got one say why,
What's that?
Lead the way, Beaver.
Silver
Exactly.
Beaver. Silver.
Silver Beavers.
Yeah, exactly.
Silver
It means we're not getting any
You,
younger.
might-
Exactly, Chris.
you might not have got back from the DOT rail on that because they're in limbo themselves because it could be a trail anyways.
The whole thing could be a
railroad bed,
trail.
The whole thing will be a
Is
trail.
there is that, what's that contingent upon? Do you know?
Contingent upon the state working, people getting together, and it's slowed down quite a bit.
Okay.
But Pan Am has leased, or is in the process of leasing to the state DOT, the property from the Big Dipper to Lewiston. And the DOT rail owns the rest of it. And if it comes up if everything goes, and it's been in the process for 5 years now, but if everything goes well, the rails will be coming up and there will be a multi-purpose trail from the old gypsum, I'm calling it,
Mhm.
to the park and ride, or it'll go farther into Lewiston, but motorized vehicles will be able to go to the park and ride in Lewiston.
Oh, sure.
So, and that's gonna be all, and that'll be a multi-purpose trail for everything.
Yep.
So, right now, probably DOT rail is not, they're not really wanting to give permission because they might not even have to. It'll just be gone.
Your discussion on that area too is different location than what the school was looking at, right?
I don't know what the school is looking at.
I heard,
I know that they were talking about having access to the track a while back.
well, right, coming from that area, one of the other conversations that I heard was, for both the cross-country team and the track team's benefit, it would be easier, rather than running in the industrial park, to actually run on the trail system if they could just connect off the back of the track, off their property. So I'll follow up on that. So if nothing else,
Interested to see the original plans, because I know there's some employees, some staff left. Daryl's gone, but there was
Right.
some talk about when they did the first design was to have it so that there was a trail that actually went from the track all the way to the trail and up to that parking lot. And it would go right by the concession, and there was bathrooms there, and it would be a benefit to everybody.
I'll follow up with Tracy.
Yeah.
Because that'd be the best way to go, because then that, still same goal, whether you're accessing it from the high school parking lot or ETTI's property, the end goal is still the same. It's trying to access the trail system that's behind it.
Well, when they did septic to the concession stand. That was the same
Yeah.
time frame.
Yeah.
Said it's not big enough. It'd make it better if it was accessible to everybody, even the trails. So.
Right. Okay, cool. Thank you.
What's that?
All set?
Mark?
All right. Thank you.
Next time, Twyla.
Audience participation and response for new items.
Anybody? Dick?
Again, my name is Richard Nettle of Lisbon Falls. I want to start a couple things I did not have on my list. One is the mill down here that they're tearing down, the Rumble. That sign up there is not a block, it's a piece of metal. Is there any way the town, the community, could get that? Because I don't believe that that should go to anybody else other than the town, because it's been here since when they started in 1919 to 1920 when they completed it. It would be a good asset to the town. Another thing, it's moving away. I ran on it, and a bunch of you that are on this committee now also ran on it, is putting in the charter so the people can vote on a municipal budget, just like the school budget. I'm still for that. That hasn't changed with me, and it won't. Now, I'm having somebody look into a sign for, just like you put here, death child, but it's not death, it's for playing. And it's on Free Street. There's a bunch of families in there, and there's kids on both sides. They play at home, they go across that street all the time, and there should be something down there. It's near the, it's nearly on Free Street, near the Huey Street and extension. And now I want to go back to this here. I don't want to take anything away from Walter. I know you talked about in goodwills and recognitions. My mother was the last one on that black bridge over there. I showed it to Roger. It's in here. And she walked across it. She is deceased. And I'm just wondering, is there any way that after Walter goes across, that I could go across on the green? I'm only asking on the green. I'm not asking on the new bridge. That I could cross, be the last one to cross that green bridge before they block it off. Or, the other option is to have my mother's name put in the record as being the last person to cross the old black bridge in the town record or something. I'll go with either one. I don't want to take anything away from Walter Parker. In fact, maybe we ought to look into naming it New Bridge after him too, 'cause he's a World War II vet. He was there a month after D-Day, and he'd be just the perfect person for it. Thanks. Bye.
You, Dick. Anybody else? Next item, Twyla?
Is under appointments, Order 2016-159, Ethics Panel Chair per Section 12-3 of the Lisbon Code. This appointment is made by the council chairman annually.
Who's up for?
Is it David Bowie?
Currently, David Bowie
David
is.
Bowie?
Yeah, and the list of members are David Bowie,
Yeah.
Tom Whitney, Ross Cunningham,
I was
Deborah
just-
Januski, Lorraine.
David Bowie, I would recommend.
Okay.
I've worked with him. We've agreed and bucked heads more than once, but he's very honorable.
All right, we'll make the record note
Yep.
that you appointed David Bowie as chairman.
Next item?
Council communications?
Well, the four of us, so I can, oh boy, brain cramp, right on television.
It's
What am
local
I gonna
access.
talk about?
It's a local
Oh.
access, a minor indiscretion.
Yeah, I can't even remember. Oh, well.
It'll come to you, Roger.
Yeah, it will.
Ordinance,
Huh?
ordinance. Speed bump.
Oh, yes. We're putting a new sidewalk in.
Thank you, Diane.
Yeah, thank you. We're putting a new sidewalk in on Davis Street, and I've had a lot of residents from Davis Street come up and ask me if they could have a couple of speed bumps put in. There's been some changes down there with some new businesses and stuff in, and I guess the speed has come up. They do make removable speed bumps that can be put down in the spring, taken out for plowing, and they're not very expensive. But we have to have an ordinance revision. And I was just kind of wondering if the council would go along with that ordinance revision. It can be put into the traffic revision.
It can be put in, you could have a section in the traffic ordinance
Yeah.
that addresses speed bumps.
So I'd like to have some.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see how it's written, so we don't end up with one of these every 30 feet on every intersection throughout town. How do you police that?
I don't know. It's
Right, that's what I'm saying. I'd
Yeah.
be curious to see the dialogue, just so the fact is Davis Street versus Summer Street versus School Street.
Farwell Street.
Farwell Street. I mean,
Well,
we
the
know
way-
the racetracks.
The way Davis Street kind of, with me, where we get that sidewalk, which is part of the trails to rails, to keep the traffic down.
Once removed from this room, people aren't going to remember that it's a foot trail that we're trying to talk about.
Yeah.
And that's what's gonna come back, and you're gonna hear about, Roger, is,
Well, it's just,
Right.
they came and asked, and
I
brought it to. they're
I agree,
very
because in
concerned.
that regard, it's actually moving it forward to the intended, which is the goal to eventually be able to connect our river path to Topsum's. It's gotta move forward, so
But
we're
it was
doing
just a
our part.
safety item on the speed bumps.
Absolutely.
There's a trailer parked in, there's a lot of kids and stuff, I guess, running around. I don't know, you see it more, do you see a problem, Chris? You're there more than I am, so,
I don't spend much time on Davis Street unless there's some water pumping out.
okay.
There is, it's a residential, I believe it's only a 25-mile-an-hour zone
Yeah,
down
it
there.
is.
Right, that's what it's posted.
I mean, as he said, as Alan said, you gotta know where you're gonna draw the line, because as soon as somebody from a different neighborhood sees one or two over on Davis Street, how come we can't have one, as you said, over here on Summer Street? How come I can't have one over here on Center Street? How come I can't have one over here? It may turn into a,
Yeah,
That's
well
what's-
said, without using the word.
right.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to bring it up to have a talk.
No, and I agree, the dialogue gotta come out, because we've heard from Dot several times on
Yeah.
School Street in that regard. And it's a dialogue that probably ought to be looked at a little more globally than this, but ought to definitely be a part of the trail that we're talking about as well, too. Absolutely.
Well,
I'd be curious to see how it gets crafted
you wanna
myself.
bring that in, you wanna talk to that, we can talk about this at that workshop that we're gonna be
Sure.
having.
Sure,
We'll
absolutely.
put that on the workshop.
Yep, I got no issue with that.
Would I be allowed to speak?
Yes,
The wor-
Dot,
at
I'll
the
let you
workshop.
speak.
Thank you. I'm hearing speeding on all of these streets in town. It seems like speeding in town is an epidemic. And rather than speed bumps, and I've advocated speed bumps on School Street, it's an epidemic. What can be done to curtail speeding in town? It's a safety issue for residents, for kids, for people on bicycles. It's an epidemic. I don't know if a workshop between the council, the police department, something, anything. It's an epidemic.
I did talk to the chief about this, former chief, about it, and basically, it's manpower. You know, you would have to really, for speeders, you'd have to have taking a cruiser and having patrolling in a very small district. You know, and they,
Not a small, just
well, it wouldn't be, because,
presence around town.
yes, but,
Which task do we want them to chart?
Well, I have a solution to that. Eliminate the communication center. Maybe we can hire 2 or 3 patrol officers.
That's a reach. From the dialogue that started the conversation, yes, that's a reach. Yes, sir.
well, we're gonna stop it here shortly.
Yeah, I gotta stop it, Charlie.
My name's Richard Nettle. I may have a solution. Couldn't cameras or something be put out around that could take pictures of people? I don't mean this big one that we got over there for speeders, but some cameras or something like that, maybe even some volunteers that could take some kind of a speed gun like you see on the news and stuff like that and go after them. And another thing is, has anybody looked into these new things that they have? They're holograms. They put them on the road. You're driving down the road and you're going down. Holy cow! You know, it pops right up. It looks like there's something right in the road, and they slow right down.
Yeah, that
They
sounds
have 'em.
dangerous.
They have 'em.
That sounds very dangerous.
Thanks, Dick.
I'm not gonna lie, the straight up danger.
I was going to say something. I see some of the speed limit signs in Topsom that have lights, blinking lights around them. I don't know if something like that would attract, you know, have them, I guess, more visible, the
Yeah.
speed limit signs more visible. Like I said, it really is an epidemic here in town.
Well, it depends on which epidemic you want to focus on, because the other one that's playing out on social media right now is anything on the Wing Street associated with breaking into cars. In that regard, we have a police force that, which priority do you want them to focus on any given day of the week or the hour within that day?
Yeah, well, yeah, the car
So-
breaks in are probably usually at night, aren't they?
I don't know. It's in that regard, its effect is why is it playing out on social media and not being brought to the local police department?
Exactly, yeah.
So-
Also, lamenting the tearing down of the Rumbo Mill. I see a lot of that now on the social media, the Lisbon Facebook, and where are all of these people when before the mill was torn down?
That's
You know, and now
Thank you
that-
for saying that. It's the same
Huh?
16 people that sit in this audience.
That-
Thank you, Dot. That's a good observation.
That place would have withstood an earthquake.
Used to be a ball shelter, wasn't it?
Next item?
Yes.
We did council communications. There's nothing for executive session. An order to adjourn, 2016-190.
I need a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Second.
Yes.
Okay.
Order passed 4-0. Time is 8:10.
Well, I don't no longer need this, correct?
You too.
You know where I'm
Jody
sitting
would
now.
like to read for you next year. Okay, good.
I pulled in the driveway after.
When you two were on this council,
Several people.
when we
over
had
the
this
last
debate
couple
about
of
the
weeks.
Rumble Mill,
Tell him for
all
a
this
thankless
and that.
job.
Okay, remember that?
You signed up for it, right?